Hey everybody, welcome back to the Johnny Laing Show with Johnny Laing. And today our super duper special guest, and there's a lot going on over here, and the rippedness as well.
Oh my God.
Make me have to suck in. You are mental toughness coach. You're a Marine. Former Marine, but there ain't no former Marine. A Marine and a couple other things that we're going to talk about coming up. But Eric Rittmeyer, everybody, and thank you for coming.
Awesome to be here, man.
So, first of all, my first question is I want to know some more about you, but what is mental toughness?
So many misconceptions tied to this, Johnny, because everybody automatically thinks push-ups and jumping jacks and running 10 miles. Mental toughness, in 2 words, is emotional control. We're not taught anything about emotions. We go through school, we memorize, regurgitate, we study books, we take tests. The smarter you are, the better college you go to, the better job you get, the more money you make. That's what everybody thinks.
That's the way it's taught.
That's the way it's taught. We're not taught how to control our emotions. We're emotional creatures. We're hardwired to feel first and think later. Emotion drives every single thing we do. We're taught nothing about it. So we go through school, memorize, regurgitate, get thrown out into the workforce. Somebody says something we don't like. We don't know how to respond to it. So what do we do?
Throw punches.
Throw punches.
No, or argue.
Or argue. That leads to punches.
Sorry, I went right to punches, everybody.
Yeah. Throw punching people. That's what we do, though. That's what happens. And what we see right now is society is just not taught any emotional intelligence skills. We're not taught how to express emotion, especially with our kids. They're on their phones all day long. So mental toughness is all about controlling emotion. Not trying to turn it off, not trying to ignore it, not trying to suppress it. It's learning to control it.
Wow. That was a lot that quick. Okay, so this all had to start at some point in your life. Now, as I said earlier, I mean, you're a Marine. That there, to me, and not that I've ever been through Marine boot camp, because I haven't, that there has to be part of the mental toughness situation, because, I mean, I've heard about the sand fleas, and you know, you hear the horror stories.
You know what's so funny about that, Johnny, is when you think about boot camp, okay, boot camp was not fun. Parris Island was not a very nice place to be. Just wasn't. It sounds awesome. When I joined, I'm like, Parris Island.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring my sunglasses, right? It's awesome. It's a horrible place to be, but here's the funny thing about it, and this is really a life lesson for me, because what I found was when you're put in a position where somebody's making you do something, it's really not difficult. So if I was to say to you, Johnny, you got to wake up 3 o'clock every morning, run 5 miles, you're going to be hungry, you're going to be miserable, you're going to be stinky, you're going to be sweaty, you're going to have sand fleas. If I told you to do that on your own, you would never do it. If I'm making you do it, it really isn't that difficult to do, and that's human nature. And I can remember the day I graduated boot camp, my drill instructor sitting us down and telling us, hey, don't think you're disciplined. He's like, what you've done for the last 3 months is obey orders. That's easy to do.
Right.
Discipline's when you go home and nobody's telling you what to do when you do the right thing. So when it comes to boot camp, yeah, the first 2-3 weeks, maybe month really sucked. But once you get over that hurdle, then at that point, just like, okay, I'm just doing what I'm told to do, and it's really not that bad. That's mental toughness. It's just having total control over our thoughts.
So when you're back out in the world and the drill sergeant isn't jumping all at your shit and you're doing what you're supposed to do, mental toughness. But I mean, you're a mental toughness guru. I mean, you're all over television programs, etc. So what got you just even started in thinking about that being what you do?
It was an extreme need, okay? When I got out of the Marine Corps, I got into sales. I eventually started my own business. I started hiring, started firing, started training, and I became obsessed with studying people and trying to figure out what made people successful. Like, I'm hiring these people. Some of them do really well. Other people don't do very well. Like, what was the common denominator there? And what I found was it was all about their thoughts. I train people right now, very successful salespeople. The one thing with all the people that are very successful is they have total control over their thoughts. Total control.
So, for instance, if you're a salesman, a salesperson, and you go out there, hey, you know how it is, and you go out there and you're given the pitch of your life, and then they say no, but then you're like, you know what? I'm going on to the next That's mental toughness?
Mental toughness is understanding that we're emotional creatures, and emotion and logic are inversely related. So as we become more emotional, we're less logical, and vice versa. I refer to this as emotional intoxication. Just like drinking alcohol. You have a couple drinks, what happens? You get loose lips, all of a sudden you can't control what you're saying. Right?
Yeah,
That's what we're going to be in about 10 minutes from now.
Let's go!
Let's go! So what this is all about is just remaining in constant control and not processing information emotionally, processing it logically. The most successful people I deal with, they know when to draw the line. They know which one's which. So the salespeople that get turned down, they don't process that emotionally. They process it logically and say, you know what? I was told no. I was turned down. On to the next. It's nothing to do with me. It's to do with that person.
Right. And probably some statistics involved in that. So, you start thinking it like that. We need to talk, like really, because I need to get my stuff on it. And everybody who knows me knows, mental toughness, I guess, is something I need to work on here.
Well, and this is the thing about Johnny. We're all emotional people, and it's okay to get emotional.
Right.
So many people also say to me, like, well, Eric, you're just saying, like, I need to be a robot, and you're just a robot. You don't have emotion. Give me a room full of 50 ladies. I'm more emotional than every single one of them. I cry at movies. I do whatever. The difference is I have control over it. I do.
Right.
I cry at movies, not going to lie. But I have control over it. That's the only difference.
Are you by yourself when you're crying at the
Normally,
movies?
with a bottle of vodka. Might as well do it right. There's no shame in my game. Come on.
So why are you here? When I say here, doing this is what you do for a living. You travel all over the country, is it to help? Do you just help? Do you have a business where you help people doing this? That's what I don't know.
I train sales teams. I train salespeople. And the main reason I'm here doing what I do is because I'm obsessed with getting our country back to a place where we love each other again. I know that sounds airy-fairy.
No, it doesn't.
Pie in the sky. We live in this outrage culture, Johnny. We automatically assume the worst intentions in each other. We automatically hate the person that disagrees with us. We can't see an opposing point of view. This all comes down to emotional control. If we could just be better listeners, if we could learn to understand that, hey, I'm going to listen to you because I want to understand you. I'm not going to listen to you just formulating a reply, which is what we do. We listen to that person just long enough to formulate our reply. Once we have our reply in our mind, everything else you say after that's just won't. It is. It's Charlie Brown style.
The Peanuts.
It's the Peanuts, exactly. So it's like, I know it sounds hairy-fairy, but we just live in this outrage culture where we automatically assume the worst intentions in people. Why can't we get back to just, okay, I'm going to assume you're a nice person, I'm a nice person, which I have found in my travels and my training, 99% of people are cool people. They really are. It's just we don't give that person the chance to be cool. So we automatically come at them negatively. It's a Hakuna Matata. I talk about this all the time, all the speeches I deliver, with Lion King. No worries. Let's just stop being so angry. So that's my obsession, is understanding and getting people to realize we're all hardwired the same exact way. We're just different blueprints of the same exact psychological inputs. That's all we are.
I do, now I'm older. I don't know how old you are.
I'm older than you, man.
No way. Get the heck out of here.
I'm 46.
See, you're not. Yes. But then you know what I'm talking about. It just seemed like when we were younger, you're the age of my sister, it just felt like it was maybe a simpler time. Maybe people cared about people more. Maybe your parents raised their kids a lot differently.
They sure did.
It's speaking of mental toughness, being a parent has got to take you to the limits of. So you got the kids. You have kids.
I do. 2 daughters.
Two daughters, and how old are they?
18 and 16.
Oh, they're old now. But when they were younger, and daddy, all that stuff, mental toughness again. So you leave the Marines, and then you go into sales. And are you still in sales?
I still do. Yeah, I still train. I still sell. I love everything I do.
You're way too positive.
Hey, I live a very cool. I love the people I deal with. I catch a lot of hate. I do, because I do a lot of TV shows. The minute they know I'm a Marine, the minute they know I love police, which I do.
I do too. My father's a retired police officer.
Love the blue. Awesome.
Yeah.
Love the blue. The minute, it's so crazy to me. It was hard for me to understand this, Johnny, because I was doing these television shows and I was catching a lot of hate afterwards. I'm like, why am I catching so much hate? I just found that people were very angry because I'm a Marine and I love police. Crazy to me.
I mean, just like you said about people, mostly that you meet in the world are nice or good people. Yeah. I've found in my life, and I grew up, like I said, father to both brother-in-laws, uncles, cousins. Everybody seemed to be police or fire in my family. And then I've met a lot of police officers, and I know that I see what's going on, but there's so many more good than the few bad, and even some of the few bad, I think just maybe you're misunderstood.
Well, and this is where the media comes into play. Not to go off on this tangent, but this is
Let's go.
This is where media comes into play, and I put a lot of responsibility on their shoulders because what they do is they take these circumstances that are really the exceptions and they try to make them appear to be the rule. Okay, they're constantly trying to divide. They're constantly trying to build this wedge. They're trying to prevent clarity. Why do they want to prevent clarity? Because without clarity, there can be no unity. So they know that if they can just constantly stir this stuff up and make everybody confused, we can't unify at that point. They've gotten very good at that. We've allowed the media to tell us who we're supposed to like and dislike. They are the ones who are pulling the strings on us because they're the ones that control the airwaves. It all comes back to the family structure. You talked about parenting earlier. Parenting is a major problem. The nuclear family is gone. You want to talk about a common denominator as far as where we are now compared to where we were back in the 50s and 60s? People say divorce. Not correct. We actually have low divorce rates right now. What we have is single-parent households. Back in the 1960s, 9% of households.
We don't have marriages.
We don't have marriages. That's even worse.
Right.
But on top of it, take the single parents. Back in the 1960s, just 9% of households were single-family. Fast forward, 2016, almost triple. 26% of households are single-family. What does single parent mean? 90% of single-parent households mean moms are raising their kids. You look in the cities with the biggest problems, Baltimore, Chicago, over 70% of households are without fathers. We are suffering from a dad deficit. The dads have got to step up to the plate.
Wow. That's some serious numbers.
It's common denominators, and that's the thing. Like, I do a lot of media on mass shootings. I hate that. I do a lot of media on this stuff. If you look for something that's missing now that we had back then that we don't have now, it's lack of fathers in the household. You can cut the cake any way you want to. That's the only common denominator I can find.
Yeah, and I mean, not that I'm an angel or anything, but my father, and to this day, is a huge. And I mean, I'm 50 years old. Mm-hmm. I mean, and he is still a huge influence
role model
on me. I mean, he's been. I don't want to throw hero out there just in case he watches this, but he's my hero basically. I mean, I don't want to get emotional.
Yeah,
try to control.
Don't let that happen. We're robots here. But here's the crazy thing about it too, Johnny. Here's I think the very positive piece of this is kids don't have to have the biological father in order to end up successful or emotionally, whatever you want to call it. They need a male role model, a neighbor, a friend. I grew up with my grandparents. Okay, my dad left when I was a child. I grew up with my grandfather. Kids need that person that's there that shows them love, attention, and affection. That's what they need. If it's a biological parent, wonderful. If it's not, that's okay.
And has been through.
And it's absolutely,
because I mean, women go through different stages of growth and hormones and all the kind of stuff, and it really is important to have that.
And it's different parenting, and that's the thing. It's not that moms do anything wrong or dads do anything. No. It's not at all. What this is in the family structure. People parent differently. Women and men parent differently. So a woman's going to parent that child to say, okay, this is what you did wrong. This is how we fix it. This is why this was wrong to do it this way. Where a dad says, you messed up. I'm pushing you into the deep end of the pool. Sink or swim, buddy. Figure it out. What's that teach them? Critical thinking skills. Okay, kids need that. They need both of them. One's not better than the other. One's not. It's just they need that combination of both. We don't get that. Then you have the dads that are physically present but emotionally absent, which is almost as bad. They're there physically, but emotionally they're totally detached. It's a lack of fathers in the household. I'm hardcore on that.
Wow. I mean, now, how about Leave It to Beaver?
It's so funny you say that.
Them days are long gone. But I like how you have been saying that you want to bring that back. You didn't say that you want to bring Leave It to Beaver back, but when people care about each other, when people do things for each other and help each other, that's what brings, like you said, it doesn't have to be mom or dad. It's somebody there that can kind of pull you in and say, look, here's where you are, and here's where you need to go, and here's how. And
it's lead by example. That's the other thing. It's lead. That's the thing in the Marine Corps. I'm not going to ask my Marines to do anything I personally am not going to do myself. I'm going to lead by example. Kids need to see firsthand respect. Kids need to be raised in households that are shown this is how we treat each other. This is what we do. This is how we act towards the person standing next to us. It's not rocket science, but if they don't have that anywhere, what do you expect them to do? They watch TV. They see a police officer beating up somebody. Well, what they don't see is the fact there was a weapon. What they don't see is that person that disobeyed a lawful order.
Or they play the games where they're riding around and banging hookers and you know what the game I'm talking about. What is that?
I don't play them, but that's Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto.
Here's a stat for you. University of California, San Bernardino did a study back in 2016. They said by the time the average child reaches the age of 18, they've witnessed over 200,000 acts of violence via social media, television, whatever. 16,000 of which were murders. Okay. Now, am I going to sit here and say because you play Grand Theft Auto or whatever it's called, or am I going to sit here and say because you've witnessed that on television, you're going to go commit crime? No, I'm not.
No.
But what I'm going to tell you is there's no way you can deny the fact that has not systematically desensitized their brain. Okay,
absolutely.
It's like MMA. I don't watch MMA. I see people beat each other up. My blood gets racing. I do whatever. I can tell you right now, if I sat down for a month straight and watched people get their butts kicked, I wouldn't have that same rate increase in my heart rate. Why? I've desensitized my brain to it. That's a problem.
I do have that feeling, speaking of MMA. Now, I do like boxing.
Mm-hmm. Boxing's different.
But then kind of when you think about it, at least MMA, you're getting... When you get knocked out, it's bad.
That's a true knockout.
In the boxing, they're beating the shit out of you.
They are.
It seems like maybe it's a little nicer, but it's really probably...
It's not quite as... I would agree. It's not quite as violent. It's like the lesser two evils, but the MMA is just flat out. I would agree with you there.
It's just the getting on top of, and just that's the stuff that I'm not saying I've never, been in a fight or anything, but, when it's over, it's over. That's my whole thing, And when they're just keep on, I just can't take that.
Me either.
Yeah, I'm not for. That's why in boxing, at least especially now, I mean, they're going
to call it
sissified, like football. So, but still.
The point is, if you put yourself in a situation enough, and it just so happens, systematic desensitization, it's also known as graduated exposure therapy. When you put yourself in situations enough, you desensitize your brain. When it comes to business, what I've done is I've tried to use that towards people who are in sales and are afraid of being rejected or addicted to the approval of other people. I try to desensitize their brain to that pain of being rejected. So when I talk about violence and constantly seeing it desensitize your brain, I try to transfer that into sales and say, okay, what are you afraid of? You're probably afraid of being rejected. Why are you afraid of being rejected? Because you want to be approved by everybody. We all suffer from approval addiction.
Right.
We constantly
Hello?
Right, exactly. How many likes did I get? What's going on? That's an issue. Why do we have that? That's part of our evolutionary advantage, because back in caveman days, if we weren't accepted by our tribe, we were pushed out to fend for ourselves. We would die. We'd starve. We'd be killed by animals. That's innately wired inside of us. We can't get over this addiction to approval. What that translates into is we alter our life to try to avoid rejection. And when that happens in sales, people aren't going to be successful because they're worried about getting turned down. You can't be successful in sales if you're worried about being turned down. It's not going to work.
That's right, because you won't want to go into that next house.
That's exactly right. Because the person who told you no because they don't like you, because they don't like your haircut or whatever. That's not the case at all.
No.
The most successful people know it's not me, it's them.
Yeah, and then maybe they don't want the product, or maybe they're just a-holes.
Maybe they're in a bad mood that day.
Yeah, bad mood. Get the hell out of here. That's another thing. I mean, I bet you if I learned a little bit more mental toughness, I'd be a heck of a salesman.
You'd be pretty darn good. You're a likable kind of guy. That's what it all boils down to. Well, that was my book, right? That's why I wrote my book. It's
well, let's talk about the...
Absolutely.
Well, let's so the Emotional Marine, 68 mental toughness and emotional intelligence secrets to make anyone instantly like you. I did instantly like you.
You're a good man, John. Thanks. I appreciate that.
So what's the story with this?
I wrote that last year, September of 2019, and this sounds really silly to say. It's camouflage too, so they might not be able to see it because it's camouflage.
By the way, everything will be down in the description. So any way to find out will be down there.
You're the man. Thank you. So when I started, it was actually really crazy because even like the introduction in that book, I even say when I grew up, I didn't know what I was good at. I feel like everybody's good at something. Athletic, you're very smart, you're good at whatever it might be. Everybody has that. For the longest time, I had no idea. I'm like, I was good at this, I was okay at that, I was alright at this, but there was nothing like I really, really excelled at. It took me until pretty late in life to realize I'm good at people. I'm good at connecting with people. And it was hard for me. It's hard for you to say that, like, oh, I'm good at connecting with people. But finally, I'm like, I'm going to put this in a book and keep it simple to read. I'm a former Marine, right? So I can't read or write hardly. But I wrote it in a book, and I'm like, might as well. And it just so happens now, it's 68 tips in there. But when people start to read it, they're like, well, Eric, I never really thought about that. Then I coined this thing called the smile factor. It's all these little simple things, Johnny, that just gets us back to being cool with each other. Right. Our nation, everybody's it's fabricated hate. We're just so upset for no reason. Let's get back to just liking each other.
Yeah, I don't hate anybody.
Me either.
And that's one of my favorite posts. Love one another.
Yeah.
I mean, because, come on.
Yeah.
No.
We're on the same stuff, right?
We're still rolling around until it's over.
That's exactly right.
You know what I mean?
And it's like that's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that's what I talk about even now getting into like this whole pandemic thing, right? And people say we're all in the same boat. And I go further to say, no, we're not in the same boat. We're all in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. I might have went into this more mentally equipped in my 50-foot yacht with a full-blown staff than you who are suffering mentally already from seclusion, from depression. You're in a 2-foot little blow-up raft with a hole in it with one oar. So to say we're all in the same boat is not accurate. We're all in the same storm,
right?
But we're all equipped differently to handle these types of issues. That's where this all comes into play when it gets down to understanding that we all don't have the same mental capacity.
Okay, so mental toughness and emotional intelligence secrets. So I don't really the mental toughness part because you have to.
It's emotional control, right? And then emotional intelligence is self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, social skills. These are all very simple things that someone who's emotionally intelligent has total control over their emotions at all times. They know how they impact you. They know how they impact the next person. If we're not aware of that, if we don't know what we're saying and what we're doing and the impacts it has on other people, we're clueless. We're oblivious. If we can't pick up on what the other person, nonverbal cues, verbal cues.
Right.
This book is very simple things that everybody can do, that everybody does daily. We just don't realize the impacts that it has on other people. So when you meet somebody, every single time you have an interaction with somebody, you leave that person, both people, leave that conversation feeling one of 5 different emotions. Happiness, sadness, anger, fear, or shame.
Ooh.
Every interaction you have. So when we're done with this tonight and we're done with this conversation,
I'm feeling pretty good.
You feel really good, right? So that's probably going to be happy.
I'm feeling pretty damn good right now.
Probably going to be happy. No alcohol yet.
Right.
So that
might be shame later.
You have me at hello. So every interaction we have with somebody has us leaving that way. Both parties leave that way. If we're not aware of that, if we don't know that, then we enter into conversations and we leave that person feeling worse off than when we met them. Nobody wants that.
No.
So why not just incorporate some very simple things that we all do, understand the impacts they have, and then I don't want to say go out of our way to do this to other people because you have to be authentic, you have to be very real, you have to be sincere about it. But if we're just aware of it, if we acknowledge it, if we know that you might be in a bad place mentally and I have the opportunity to make your life better in that moment, why not do it?
Right. That doesn't cost you nothing, as they say.
Not to mention, it makes you feel better about yourself, too.
And probably, and make me feel better about myself.
That's exactly right.
So and now I said everything's going to be down there, but some people might not even look. So where can anybody get the book, The Emotional Marine? I like this title. 68 Mental Toughness and Emotional Intelligence Secrets to Make Anyone Instantly Like You. I did.
I tell you what, man, it's like birds of a feather flock together, right, man? Come on.
You mean good looking.
Good looking, exactly right. Great hair.
And great hair. And ripped.
Yeah, right.
So,
my website's best. It's mentaltoughnessspeaker.com. Okay. It's on Amazon. I also have a website set up specifically for that, emotionalmarine.com.
So, what has the book sparked your has sparked your television your appearances, or have the appearances sparked your book? Because I know that you did send me your bio, but I went on your page and everything and looked at, and you've been on a lot of daggone television programs.
I have. And it's so funny you say that, Johnny, because I think the biggest misconception about writing a book, as soon as people see that I do television, I do have a program actually that I developed with my PR guy to help people get on television. Same program I did. It's an online program. We have a coaching program to get people in front of the camera on any news outlet they want to be on. It's so funny because the big misconception about books is people think you write the book and then you go on television and you sell your book, which is all wrong. Okay, I wrote that book to get on television to build credibility for myself. If I go on television, do I sell books? Yes, I do. The purpose behind the book was not to sell books on television. The purpose behind the book was to get on television, to sell myself, to sell my product, to sell my coaching program. It's not just to sell books. That's the misconception.
So selling the books was like just any books you sold was just icing on the cake.
It's a byproduct of it.
Because you want to get out there.
Exactly. And getting on television is all about people knowing that you're an expert in whatever field it is. Writing a book makes you that.
So you wrote the book, you got on television, and then once you're on all these television outlets and programs, did you see a surge in the book sales?
But the biggest thing for me, like anybody, like most people get on television, it's an implied endorsement. So the minute you're on any channel you're on, I've done probably 150 interviews now on television channels. The minute people see that, it's an implied endorsement. They assume that Fox has endorsed me. They didn't endorse me. They just had me on their show.
But the assumption is good for you.
Exactly correct.
Huh.
That's what people don't get about television. That's the thing. I use that because that goes to my resume. Now, you Google my name, I appear on hundreds of different channels and shows and all that kind of stuff. They don't endorse me. They just have me on there to talk about a topic that I feel like I'm fairly knowledgeable on.
Seems like it.
I hope so. I've been doing it for so long. Exactly. It's written in crayon, don't forget.
That's the Marine thing again.
That is the Marine thing. Right? I'm not chewing gum and I wrote out a fall on my face.
So what's next? I mean, obviously, more television appearances, which is wonderful. I mean, like you said, pushing yourself, and that's why I'm out here doing the same thing. I'm not trying to get on news outlets, but trying to get old Johnny Laing out there doing his thing, and it's tough.
It is tough. I think what's next for me, to be honest with you, Johnny, I'm really considering running for office this next election cycle.
Where do you live?
I'm in Perry Hall. I'm District 7. So if I do decide to run, I got to talk to my kids. My kids be the ones who make the decision here.
Is that us as well, Perry Hall?
I don't think you fall. I think you fall under District. That's a good question, actually. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure of that. I'm District 7. So I'm thinking state delegate, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that 100% yet.
Right.
I intentionally avoided politics for a very long time. My topic of mental toughness is very applicable to politics.
Absolutely. You got to have brains of steel instead of pecs of steel. Brains of steel.
And what you also have to have is the ability to separate emotion.
Right.
People can't do that in politics.
Right.
Everything is now, it's all about, it does not matter what you see with your eyes. It only matters what you feel in your heart. I talk about this. We're allowing subjective perceptions to override objective observations. Meaning it doesn't mean what I see with my eyes. It only matters what I feel in my heart. Dangerous. Very, very dangerous because we have these belief systems that we've had in our mind. Doesn't matter what it's about politics, about finances, about love, whatever. We have these belief systems that are tied to nothing more than a warm, fuzzy feeling. The minute I produce a statistic or a fact that conflicts with that, we default to these defense mechanisms, meaning you feel very strongly about something. You have nothing to support it, but you feel strongly about it. So now I produce a fact and say, Johnny, this really totally...
It's not a thing.
It's not a thing. Right. And what do? You go back crazy.
Right.
Well, you can't say that, Eric. Well, here's the statistic. Here's the fact. It doesn't matter because you feel it in your heart. That's where we are as a nation. We can produce facts all day long. But if people feel strongly about it, doesn't matter what we produce. That's extremely dangerous.
Probably what happened with this last election.
100%. It's all tied.
Lot of emotions, and I'm telling you, and I stayed away from it. Believe me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I did my thing, but I don't get, and I won't. By the way, that's one thing.
I don't blame
you. And we're talking about a lot of things, but man, political debates, like you said, nobody wants to come here. Nobody wants to, or if they believe it so hard, it has to be true. So you know what? The sky's red. Nobody
wants to accept an opposing point of view. We're incapable of suspending our disbeliefs. That's a major problem. My whole thing, any of these speeches I deliver, any of these events I speak at, I refer to myself as being apolitical. Okay, what I care about are the facts. I'm going to set aside my emotion. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to look at things logically, and I'm going to allow facts to guide my decisions, not my heart.
That right there should get you elected with anything else.
I agree.
It doesn't matter how wonderful you were any other time in your life. Right there they'll be like, well, you know what? Our new delegate, Eric Rittmeyer, is our new delegate. But seriously, I mean, if you think about it,
it's 100% lacking.
Yeah,
it's non-existent in the political world. It is non-existent for us to strictly look at facts and not allow our emotions to override those facts. It's non-existent.
Well, I think, especially in local politics, it's personal.
It is very personal.
So our delegates and our senator and our councilmen, I know them. This is a very close-knit area. So I think that when you have, not saying me, but other people that will say, well, you know what, we're friends, so I'm going to call them personally. And there's a lot of pressure. I feel a lot more pressure than the daggone presidents on these local guys. And now I know what you're talking about, and I know why you're here. But you got to, in my mind, it's like that to be mentally tough the way you're talking about. Maybe it's just around here, I don't know, but people live here their whole lives, and you know them, and these guys that are our delegates and that are our councilmen and guys,
There's a personal component to this, and the personal component needs to be there, 100%.
Because you want to do better for people that you love.
Not only that, you want to stick to your core belief system. And that's the other thing I found, another reason why I think I want to run. Because I don't feel like a lot of people do that in politics. I feel like they sell out very easily. I'm a Marine, right? I'm a Marine. My word is my word. Right. You can take the Marine out of the Corps. You cannot take the Corps out of the Marine.
Right.
I will go to my grave on my word. I don't see that in politics. And the problem is, it's a lot of people who are looking out for their own best interests. Part of this is you do have to make very difficult decisions, but another very major component of mental toughness is standing up for what you believe in and not succumbing to pressure. I don't care if you like my decision. What I care is I'm making it based on what I believe to be accurate and what I believe to be in the best interest of everybody. I'm not going to make 100% of people happy.
No.
But I can't.
But you got to be common sense involved sometime.
Common sense isn't so common.
Sometimes
we could use it.
Can anybody help us here? Exactly. Jesus. But yeah. So with all those things that you're talking about, mental toughness and caring about the people that you're representing would probably be a person that could be cloned, and then that would be our politicians. We just raise those people to be the politicians.
And again, it goes back to the title of my book, right? It's like play on words. Emotional Marine. Exactly what I wanted. The emotional intelligence piece, the soft piece, if you want to call it that,
right,
with the toughness part of it. So it's like, okay, those two come together. And you really can't have mental toughness without emotional intelligence and vice versa. Okay, everybody says, well, aren't they different? I don't believe they're different. Because someone who is very mentally tough is in constant control of their emotions. An emotionally intelligent person is someone who's aware of their emotions and they regulate those emotions. It's how we perceive, express, and respond to emotion.
So this is your program. So now, and you seem like you're a very together guy. Do you ever step into the dark side, if you know what I mean? To where, you know what I mean? Well, I mean, not the dark side for me, but the dark side for you. Are there any time, and I'm not asking for any specifics, obviously. I mean, slapping your wife around or whatever. I'm talking about, are there any times when maybe you're driving down the road or, something, maybe road rage, whatever, that you just like, I want to fuck you mother. You know what I mean? Are you ever there? Because it doesn't seem like you would be.
Daily.
Daily.
The difference is with me, Johnny, the difference is with I'm not the only person who's mentally tough or emotionally intelligent, whatever. The difference is I automatically acknowledge it. I'm able to in real time realize what's happening.
And then bam.
And I'm not going to say it's easy to turn off because again, it's about emotional intoxication, right? Once you become so intoxicated in that emotion, it's difficult to sober up. Okay, it's like that's what they say. Drunk words are sober thoughts. So what we say when we're drunk is what we mean when we're sober.
Do you believe that?
I do. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a firm believer when somebody gets drunk, that doesn't make them somebody that they're not already. When they're drunk, the shield comes down. In my mind, I'm not saying 100% accurate, but what I believe is when somebody gets intoxicated on alcohol, they're showing you their true colors.
To the point where they,
The barrier goes down at that point. We all operate this way. We all withhold information. We all put up a shield, especially when we just meet somebody. We're not going to let that person truly see who we are.
Right.
We become more comfortable with them. We become okay with them. Just like alcohol. We're cool. We're sitting out here, no big deal. Seriously.
We're about to get real friendly.
I was going to say, dude, I'm not getting in a fist fight tonight. First last show.
Mental toughness guru and local YouTuber go to jail. No, I'm kidding.
Go fund me.
Okay.
Bail money.
Bail money, baby. Yeah. So that's it. So next is what? One more time. What are you doing? You got the book and you're going to run for office, but you just don't know which one yet.
And I don't know that I'm going to because I have to make that decision. I'm not 100% sold on that because that's a major undertaking.
Yeah, I'm not announcing anything. Okay, I'm not announcing anything.
I don't know what's going to happen there yet. For the immediate thing, what I want to do is I want to make this world a better place. And again, I know it sounds unicorn, Skittles, high fives, jumping jacks, shoulder rubs, and Hakuna Matata. That's not what I'm talking about. Not what I'm talking about.
Shoulder rubs. That's later.
Yeah, I was going to say. But really, Johnny, for me personally, and it sounds hairy-fairy, I just want everybody to get along with each other. It's like if we would just realize that we're all the same exact people.
How wonderful would it be if it was? I mean, I don't know if it was ever really like that. Maybe. I mean, I know that times change and people were kinder, but it seems like there's always that percentage of people that are never.
Do you know what I would say? I would agree with you that we were never at a point where everybody loved each other, but I would say that we were also never at a point where everybody hates each other as much as we do right now.
And maybe more unified. Maybe everybody didn't like each other, but we were unified as a country.
I refer to that as a social fabric, a cultural fabric. Years ago, we had cultural fabric. It used to be religion. When we went to war, these were all things like home base, like when we're kids playing tag, right? We had home base. You get to home base, everybody step off. We had home base. We had a core social common fabric. That's what's so great about the military. We have that core thread, which is why you see so many veterans that are so, the camaraderie, the unity, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Same thing with law enforcement. We don't have that cultural fabric anymore. So now everybody's just going a million different directions. There's nothing that brings us back together. Again, it used to be religion. I'm not a big religious person. I'm just not. It used to be religion. Right now, we have no common thread. Back then, we did. There was something that always unified us. Now we have terrorist attacks and we still are divided. Now we have people that are getting killed in the streets and we're still divided. What brings us together? That's what's missing. There's no cultural fabric right now. It's more about social media than it is social interaction. Our kids aren't taught basic skills. They don't know how to deal with adversity. They don't know how to deal with people that they disagree with. What's that translate into?
They don't know how to write cursive.
They don't know how to write cursive. I speak in cursive when I start drinking too.
Well, I hope that whatever that is, whatever we need, I really hope it happens. I mean, I'm not even God. I mean, I don't even know. I'm not religious either, but God, I will be religious. I'll change if we. We need that so bad.
And I don't think the people understand the role we play.
And it's not the world.
No.
It's not the world.
No.
It's the United States.
Yeah.
The United States, motherfuckers. United States.
We are very, very unique in our inability to get along with each other. And this all goes back to the lack of the family structure. But I think what's most important is for each one of us to it's like voting. Okay, I'm not going to vote on one vote. Well, guess what? If 10 million people agree with that thought process, it makes a very big difference.
Which we found out.
Which we did find out very firsthand, right?
Amazing. By the way, I'm not... What an amazing election. I mean, I'm not talking about all the bullshit that went along with it. I'm talking about... You want to talk about the unity? That we were united in one thing. We all went out and voted.
There was a lot of voting going on.
And I think that's a step in the right direction. No matter what the ulterior motives for either side are, which, God... No party system. Term limits. No party system.
And I'll fix this even further to say mandatory military service. You want to talk about changing this nation? 18 years old. I'm not talking about here's a rifle and grenades and go kill people. It's going to be some sort of public service. It could be national parks. It could be something where you step outside of your house, outside your comfort zone. You go somewhere and learn how to work with people, learn how to deal with people you don't like, learn how to accomplish a mission, and learn how to respect each other. Have that common thread. You get a nation that has that common thread.
Our next president. Yes. No, that's amazing. I mean, we used to have the draft, and I think it's a good thing. If you have to serve a couple of years in the military, and now if there happens to be a conflict, that's just the way it goes. I mean, there's guys that volunteer and now, and we have a military because of volunteers only now, and these guys and gals are going over and doing what they got to do.
Our grandparents, our great-grandparents, they falsified their birth dates so they could go to a place they knew they probably weren't coming home. Do you know just 7.3% of our population are veterans right now? Just 0.4% are active duty. 7.3%. Here's the issue. There's this major break in passing down. I remember sitting in my grandfather's lap watching black and white TV, talking about he was a World War II guy. I remember that very, very vividly. You know what you get with a veteran. Commitment, integrity, accountability, loyalty, the service before self mentality. I don't care what branch you served in. I'm hardcore because of Marine Corps, whatever. We all bleed green.
Right.
We all bleed green. I don't care where you came from. I don't care what you like. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care what your race is. What I care is when bullets start flying, do you have my back?
Yeah.
That's all that matters to me. We learn that in the Corps. We learn that in the military. Law enforcement gets that. Nothing else matters. That's why you see that camaraderie there. We all been there. We all done that. We all raised our right hand. We don't have that as a nation. If we start instituting that, reinstituting that, and start making these kids understand what you have is not just here because it's here, because cool if you bought it on Amazon Prime, what you have right now are your grandparents who stormed beaches and died. They falsified their age so they could go fight a war they believed in. You start having a nation full of people like that, we see respect, we see kindness, we see compassion, we see a cultural fabric.
The golden rule comes back.
Very simple.
You know, that's what my father was a police officer, and that's what he drilled in my head. He said, look, you're going to treat people the way you want to be treated, and that's the way it is. And that's what he did. And I grew up in Dundalk, Maryland, and my father was a police officer in Dundalk, and I saw him deal with all kinds of people, homeless, whatever, and he treated everybody with respect.
Spot on.
Even when they didn't treat him with respect, and he had to do what he had to do, he treated him with respect.
And it's funny you say that. That's actually one of the chapters in my book. It's called The Platinum Rule. I talk about that. We all know the Golden Rule. Treat others the way we want to be treated. The Platinum Rule is treat others the way they want to be treated. Because the way you want to be treated might be different than the way you want to be treated. So a Platinum Rule is I acknowledge that. I pick up on that. My emotional intelligence, my self-awareness picks up on that. I treat you the way you want to be treated. That's the Platinum Rule. Something else.
I like the Platinum Rule.
That's chapter 32. I don't know what chapter. It's in my book. I don't know what chapter it is.
That's I like that. That makes the Golden Rule look like doo-doo.
You can't go wrong with the Golden Rule, though.
No, the Golden Rule's good. Okay, so we're gonna get out of here. But first of all, I really appreciate you, man. You don't even know how much. I mean, I love this. It means so much. But I want to ask you if you have any question or anything that you would like to know about me, because it's all about you. But now we're going to get to know each other here in a minute. But that being said, what are your?
You know what I love about this whole setup here, Johnny? I love the fact I was born and raised in Parkville. Okay, I was a Baltimore kid, so I left in the Marine Corps, went away for 4 years, came back, whatever. This whole area, everything around here, I feel the camaraderie. And I got to tell you, it's very different. And I've traveled all over the world. I've been all different places. People say, well, you know, if you just grew up in this area, you don't think anything's different. You assume it's the way it always is, Baltimore, right?
Right.
We have something very unique here, especially in this area. I feel like it's just the good old, like the way it used to be. Like, I knew your father when he used to work down at this, whatever. And it's like, okay, you automatically act differently because you know everybody's watching you. It's like this respect of this name. So I love about what you have and what I'm hoping to be a part of is to watch this all blow up. Because I love this. I do. I love this. It's called effective presence is the official term. It's when you're able to make other people feel good about themselves. Even if you internally don't feel good, you can have positive words.
You've done it to me.
So it's the happy, not the sad. But I want to see this. I want to see this grow. I love to be a part of it.
Thank you.
I seriously, what it means, I love like minds, right? It's all birds of feather, whatever. I love that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping I can be a part of this moving forward.
Well, I'm gonna make sure all your links are down there, and I hope, and I don't even know, but I hope you get back control of your business.
I hope so too.
Because now people are going to be hitting you up, and you got to be able to get in there and get to. Again, I appreciate you so much, everybody. YouTube land. Please subscribe, give me a like, comment, say you handsome son of a guns, all that. And I really appreciate you guys watching. And I'll see you next time on the Johnny Laing Show with Johnny Laing.